So we are starting from the beginning. Book 1, Canto 1. The symbol dawn. It starts with a very unusual sentence. It was the hour before the gods awake. Makes us wonder, the gods are asleep? Can they wake up? For me, in order to perhaps try to fathom this sentence, I may be wrong, but you cannot read Savitri if you do not have the vaster principles, conceptions that Sri Aurobindo has given us. And all his writings are not just based on the evolution of consciousness, but before the evolution, the involution of consciousness. The involution is the descent of the powers of light, of truth, of existence, of consciousness, descending into the absolute, utter foundation, which then is covered over by inertia, by unconsciousness, by absolute, the opposite of this world of light and truth, the utter darkness. And that is the reason perhaps why the first canto is the dawn, the symbol dawn, the breaking out of light out of darkness. This is also our life, the breaking out of light out of ignorance. How can light come out of ignorance unless it were not already hidden there? These principles one may call the gods. The gods are embodiments of principles of perfection, of divinity, of light, of truth, of beauty, of life. All these seem to have plunged into their very absolute opposite state. And if we read certain writings of Sri Aurobindo, some poems like The God's Labour, going down, or The Pilgrim of the Night, again making an assignation with the night, moving down into the utter world of unconsciousness and ignorance. There comes no voice from the eternal friend, he says, and yet I know in The Pilgrim of the Night he ends, my footsteps track shall be a pathway towards immortality. That immortality is hidden. That truth is hidden in the dark. So in order to read Sri Aurobindo, we have to first have some conception of the basic large principles. And it's not an evolutionary thought, it is an involutionary, which precedes evolution. So when it is the hours before the gods awake, there is no manifestation of light. There is no manifestation of life. There is no manifestation of truth. There is absolute darkness. That is a state of utter inconscience. Out of that, gradually, there is a beginning of something that churns from within, something that breaks the resistance, the inertia. And this is a universal principle. This is our individual existence. We are plunged in inertia, in ignorance, in the opposite of light, in the opposite of truth. But we can break out of this. It is therefore a dawn which is not just a phenomenon that happens in the physical world. Dawn comes out of night every day. It is a phenomenon that is psychological, a change in our consciousness to come out from total ignorance into lesser ignorance, into still lesser ignorance. It's the beginning of change until we move absolutely into day. The book ends with the everlasting day, the 11th book. There is no night anymore, no ignorance anymore, no death anymore, no opposition to the divine anymore, because we contain in ourselves those opposite principles. So he starts with that. It is also a story. Every epic is a narrative. It is not simply a truth. It is certainly the truth of Sri Aurobindo's own existence, but he is putting it before us in the form of a narrative. And the narrative starts on a particular day. But on this day, at this time, the time that is darkest, it is always darkest before dawn, it is said. It is that particular moment when all things seem to have been lost. There is no hope, there is no possibility of change, that the change comes. So it was that moment. It's a perfect line, it's a perfect pentameter, it is rhythmical and absolute. It's a short one line which says a whole universal process. It was the hour before the gods awake. These truths, these principles, across the path of the divine event, where the change can begin to manifest, when the change attempts to manifest in us also, there is a moment when we want to break out of ignorance. Something stands in the way across the path. We can't change because there is within us a lack of faith, a lack of belief. You don't accept that you can change. This is the mind of night. You find all kinds of explanations, excuses to say man is not divine. Man is not perfect. Though he is created by the divine, his origin, his source is the eternal and the perfect. But we don't believe it. We ally ourselves, we relate ourselves to mortality, not to immortality. And that's why we are still mortals. And yet our origin is the eternal. So something stands across the path. Something blocks that change. So the second line starts, across the path of the divine event, when the breaking out from darkness to light, it's a divine moment. What stands across the path? The huge, foreboding mind of night. You see how dangerous the mind is, with all its incapacity to experience. Mind cannot experience anything. Mind judges, considers, tries to explain, but unless we live something, we do not know it. The mind cannot live something. The mind stands outside the experience, tries to explain, tries to justify, tries to find different all kinds of reasons not to believe. Therefore, it's full of fear, foreboding, lack of faith. So the huge foreboding mind. That's why mankind has not changed. Centuries have passed. Man has not evolved really. He lives in better houses and wears better clothes, but he's the same brute. Something has got to go from deep within us. Something has to be removed from deep within us. That acceptance that we are undivine. We are not undivine. We are children of the Mother, children of the Divine. We say it, we don't believe it. We relate it, we don't relate to it in our daily experience. So this is foreboding. Foreboding is fear, full of fear. And Mother says very clearly, fear is the biggest enemy. It is the biggest impurity. It stands in the way of faith. So the huge foreboding mind of night, night as opposed to light, alone in her unlit temple of eternity. Since she is the one whom earth accepts, earth says, yes, we are ignorant, we are weak. The world worships darkness, the temple of darkness. Though we don't say it out loud, but we bow down before that, before imperfection. So this idea of how to emerge from this, there is a push. At some point, this has to be disturbed. It won't go away right away, but it has to be made to shake. This inertia, this resistance has to break. So the huge foreboding mind of night, alone in her unlit temple, there is no light there. It's utter darkness of eternity, lay stretched, immobile upon silence marge. Silence, emptiness, there is no multiplicity. When there is utter darkness, you can't see anything. There is no seer, there is no seeing. There is nothing, it is all blank. When I'm utterly blind, there is no light for me. But the blindness is in my eyes. It's not the absence of light, it's the absence of light within me. And so if I close my eyes or if I become utterly blind, there is for me no light. If I close my eye to the light of the divine, there is no divine. So there are all kinds of thinkers and philosophers who will try to disprove the presence of the divine. And all those philosophies are utterly blind because they are thinkers, they are not seers. They are not those who experience the truth. They work out their falsehood, their partial knowledge in all kinds of complex formulas. So you have this mind of night, alone in her unlit temple of eternity, lay stretched, immobile upon silence marge. Marge is the edge, margin, and it is on the edge of inconscience. Mind is slightly coming out of inconscience, trying to justify ignorance. Except we say we are human, we are imperfect. We don't say we are human, therefore we are children of perfection. Almost one felt opaque, the resistance to light, the blank opacity, lack of transparency. And one of the things Mother has described, Mother has used to describe sincerity is transparency. That's how she describes sincerity. It's transparency. We are opaque. Something in us is not transparent. We say something on the outside, we are something on the inside. How can we change? We are not one person. We are divided. So in that opaque, and so opaque it is impenetrable, so inert, so resistant, almost one felt opaque, impenetrable, in the somber symbol of her eyeless muse. Muse is concentration, meditation, blind concentration on imperfection, on darkness. We associate ourselves with that. Therefore, one felt, this is the direct object, almost one felt the abysm of the unbodied infinite. The unbodied infinite, the infinite inconscience. Because inconscience, which in the end everything is created by the divine, this inconscience is also divine. It is the seat of all change, it is the seat of all growth. Out of the darkness, light can emerge. Therefore, the darkness is the mother of light. The inconscience is the beginning of change, but we have to want to. We have to churn the inconscience. There has to be a manthan, there has to be some kind of churning. What will emerge is not right away as happen in the manthan, will not always be nectar of immortality. There will also be poison. There will also be things that are contrary. There will be confusion. There will be error, as there is. The more the attempt towards change is there, the more you realize the difficulties, the oppositions, the defeats that we have to go through. So this is the unbodied infinite. The fathomless zero occupied the world. This is that moment where there was nothing. When we are totally unconscious, we are not only, we don't believe in anything, we don't accept anything, we are nothing. You don't believe in creation, you say there is no creation. We are here today and gone tomorrow. What is this? There is no truth. There is no life. There is no belief. This is a huge, big, blank zero. Sometimes it is this that makes some thinkers say, then move out of this state. Look for somewhere where there is light, and it is not in this earth, it is not in the world of manifestation. Yes, you want to say something? I thought you wanted to ask something. No, okay. So, in the somber symbol of her eyeless muse, one felt the abysm. Abysm is an endless, deep, deep pit. You can't understand how deep it is. We don't realize how deep our roots go down into the darkness. Therefore, we don't even try. When we try to change, we change our surface nature. You try to change your habits, you might change, you try to change your moral nature, your character to some extent, but deep-rooted darkness, failure, connection with death, these are things we say are impossible to change. We are plunged in that abyss of failure. A fathomless zero occupied the world. Creation was nothing but a huge blank. A power of fallen, boundless self. Awake between the first and the last nothingness, recalling the tenebrous womb from which it came, turned from the insoluble mystery of birth and the tardy process of mortality, and longed to reach its end in vacant naught. Why do we fall back again and again into this darkness? We are born out of the supreme transcendent. There is no form. The transcendent, the Brahman, has no name, no shape, no definition. We cannot define it. If we do, we are limiting it. So that is the first as well as the last nothingness. The Brahman, there is a deep-rooted darkness which is also the Brahman. This is the Supreme, which we do not know. So we are trapped in the middle. We are in the human journey. Our origin is the darkness. Our end is the light. There too there is no name, no shape, no form, no end. There is only eternity. No beginning, no time. Time is the field of manifestation. Space is the field of expression. Time and space, however vast they may be, are limits. What is beyond time? What is beyond shape? What is beyond space? That and only that is the truth, said the sages. That is what Shankara wanted to find out. That is the experience the Buddha wanted to attain. That which cannot change because it is not in the world of change. All creation is in the world of change. So, this is the last nothingness. The first nothingness, there is nothing, so it cannot change. So, a power of fallen self. Which is that power? Creation, man, or the divine in man. He has involved himself, and it is because this involution has taken place that there is at a certain moment, just like when we sleep, there is a moment when we stop sleeping. There is a opening, there is a waking, but it doesn't mean that we are totally, fully aware of all that is and all that we are. So it is the first beginning of a self that is slightly awake between the utter inconscience and the utter transcendent reality. Recalling again and again that source, that mother, from which, in whose womb we had felt safe, protected. Darkness is a protection. Because if you are totally in the dark, you don't feel anything, you don't feel pain, you don't feel death, because you are not. There is a great attraction that we have for the lower existence, because there you don't have to make an effort, totally in the dark. But that is where all change begins. It is out of the lowest levels of the mud that slowly the life began to emerge. Out of that mud, the first principles of growth started. Change is growth. And so, this is the mystery. Something comes out of nothing. Life comes out of that which did not seem to be alive. Out of the unconscious stone, the first seeds of life can emerge. Out of the mud, a form comes out. This is a mystery. That means all these forms of life, of action, of change, of growth were present somewhere in that which seemed to have nothing at all. In the same way, out of us, we are incomplete. We are mud and stone. Something more than that can gradually break out. This is the mystery. This is why we are born. To grow into that which we are not yet. To grow into that which we already are. In a hidden way, it is already there. To manifest that. Why do we not manifest it? Why do we resist? Why do we again and again fall back into that inconscience? That is the mystery. Why can't we allow ourselves to climb? We climb to fall. It's a spiral. We rise to fail. It's like the higher you rise, the lower you fall. The greater you are, the smaller you become. All that you have, you lose everything. Then why come on earth? This is the mystery. Again, the sages have questioned this. Why come at all? Why be born at all if we have to go? Why achieve anything if it is taken away from us at some fixed date, in some fixed place? And the tardy process. Tardy is not late like in French. Tardy is slow. The process of growth, of change, of consciousness is very, very slow. It's a tardy process of mortality. You are a mortal only when you realize you are a mortal. The question of mortality is not something the stone bothers or even the worm bothers itself with. It is, for as long as it is given, allowed to be. It can be for a day, it can be for a few minutes, it can be for 3 days. It doesn't struggle with life in order to continue its process of living. Man, the only being, struggles. He wants to push back the date where he is asked to leave. That means in him there is an energy that is beginning to work itself out. The energy of evolution, of change. The process is evolution. And evolution is not a change of form, but a change of consciousness. If that consciousness is not there, we are also stones. When I realize I can, if I try, become other than I am, it may take me 1,000 years. But if I can become other, not any longer the same that I am, then my life on earth makes sense. This is the mystery. But because it is so difficult, we fall back. That attempt for progress, that is why Mother says a life without progress, a life without change, which is finally a life without evolution, is a wasted life. It makes no sense. We are not to stay the same. Stagnation is death. You remain the same. What you were yesterday, you are still today. We fall back into the past. That's why we have to keep on reminding ourselves, don't go back into the past. Because it may have been something even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. You are not that. You have supposed to have moved on. We are here. Life is a journey. It's a movement. If we stop the journey, then we are dead. There are living dead. There are people who are inwardly dead. They are alive, they move around, but they are dead. They are called walking dead. But they don't count really. There is something that is there in us to go back to that darkness, because there you are not expected to make effort. Effort is struggle. Effort is difficult. In fact, the meaning of sadhana is effort. You have to make an effort. It's not going to fall into your lap or change. Tomorrow you wake up and be a different person. And we think that, yes, I am living under Mother's canopy, Mother's umbrella, the grace is there, nothing will happen to me, so I can carry on with my daily existence just as I am. Not at all. It is even more difficult to be worthy of this grace. You have to struggle, you have to work on yourself. So, as in a dark beginning of all things, because all things start from that ignorance, that unconsciousness, life begins from nothingness, from death. A mute, featureless semblance of the unknown. Semblance is an interesting word, because semblance is an image, but it's a copy. Every image is actually a copy, it is not a truth. You like to take photographs, but it's an image. The reality is not a photograph. Reality is if you live that. You project yourself into the beauty that you see, you become that. So something in us doesn't dare to make that effort. For that we have to change ourselves totally from within. So there is a semblance which is just an outer appearance, which means it is not the real thing. By definition, a semblance is not reality, it's a copy. Are we real? Or are we projections, sometimes unconscious and unknowing expressions of life? We don't know what we are, why we are, where we are going, are we going anywhere? Are we alive? If I am, I know that I am, I live. I embody reality. If I don't know what is reality, can I say I am? The word I am is the Jewish word for God. Jehovah means God. Jehovah, Yahweh. Yahweh is the Hebrew term. Yahweh means I am. He for whom there is no I was, I will be, I am. The eternal, the permanent. How can you be eternal and permanent? You are perfect. If you are already perfect, there is no more change. We are not. So we are completely imperfect. Are we therefore truly reality? What I am this minute will not be there within. Every cell of your body goes away every 7 years. Your body is changing. Not one cell lives more than 7 years. Constantly there is change. Your mind, your thoughts move in and out. Your feelings keep on changing. Today I say I love, tomorrow I say I love less, I love more. Everything is shifting, moving, changing. So this is the whole problem of man. What is this growth of consciousness that has to emerge out of unconsciousness? Unless I can get in touch with that which is the absolute change. So, as in, otherwise, we are ignorant, mute, dumb, semblances of the unknown, repeating forever the unconscious act. Again and again and again, we make the same curve, starting from death and ending in death. It's like a wave that rises, goes up, decay, falls, crashes, starts again and crashes again. Have we contributed anything in this movement towards progress? Prolonging forever the unseeing will. That will is there, the energy is there. There could be no manifestation without energy, but it's an beginning, it's an unseeing will. Unseeing because it is apparently blind. The darkness. The darkness is the origin of light. It is moving. In us, ignorance is churning. We are yearning for something. We don't exactly know what. So unless will, power, energy is accompanied by consciousness, Chit Shakti, there is no proper journey possible, no forward journey. It seems to be as if we are caught in a rut. We rise to fall, we are born to die, we move ahead and fail again and again and again. So this is the forever the unseeing will, cradle the cosmic drowse of ignorant force. So this repetition, like a cradling of a mother who has her child in her arms, and there is the same movement, a rhythmical movement of taking the child and cradling him and making him fall asleep. This darkness is our mother, and we are cradled in the darkness. Therefore you sleep better when you switch off the lights, and you switch off your inner lights as well sometimes, or most of the time. So you go back into that darkness and you feel nothing. You think you feel safe. You go back to nothing. Which is one reason why we should learn how to sleep. Mother has spoken of how to learn to sleep. To make yourself conscious before you go to sleep. Connect with her before you go to sleep, so that you don't fall back into that state of total emptiness and total blindness. But that cosmic drowse, whose moved creative slumber kindles the suns. This material universe has come out, has emerged out of that complete emptiness, shapeless, formless energy. This world of matter was preceded by a world of formless, shapeless energy. And then at some point forms planets. It is as if matter began to solidify. What is matter? Concentration of energy, condensation of energy. It gets condensed, it gets concentrated. There is a certain surface hardness. And yet even now, if you probe into the heart of matter, you still find only energy. You find heat, you find fire, the original energy that is there in all things, at all times. And we are born of that play of energy. Slowly that energy grows, creates life, creates mind, whose moved creative slumber kindles the sun, the moon, the stars, everything, and carries our lives in its somnambulist whirl. We are also part of this pattern. Like a somnambulist, we move. Like a somnambulist, we don't know where we are going. A somnambulist walks in his sleep. He's not aware that he's walking in his sleep. We are alive on the planet. We are not aware that we are here for a purpose. We just, one day follows the next, and yet another day, and yet another year. Why? A meaningless, pointless journey. Like a somnambulist, it's a pointless journey, because the person who is making the movement, walking in his sleep, is not aware that he is walking. He's unconscious. As long as man too is unconscious, he is living on the earth, but he doesn't know that he is here for a reason. What is that reason? To come out of ignorance and move towards light, towards consciousness. So this is the first stage. So this is the individual state of consciousness. This is the earth state of consciousness. The whole creation is that. And it is outwardly also a physical state. You see early, late night, early dawn. There seems to be nothing. The stars have set, the moon has set, the sun is not there. There is nothing. So athwart the vain, enormous trance of space, life is still. Trance is where the consciousness seems to withdraw deep within. Outwardly, it looks like it is asleep. A person who is in trance is not sleeping, but he has withdrawn his consciousness knowingly. This only rishis can do, and go deep, deep inside into an absolute, profound inner silence. Therefore, again the suggestion, this original inconscience, is it a spiritual trance? Is it a withdrawal of consciousness deep into the depths? And then, because if that is the case, then consciousness can at some point break out. Athwart is across. Athwart the vain, enormous trance of space, its formless stupor, without mind or life. In the world of matter, there is no life yet, no mind yet. A shadow spinning through a soulless void, the sense of unreality. Earth is the field of change. There is no change. There is only darkness. The shadow spinning in an empty space, soulless, meaningless, unconscious, void, thrown back once more into unthinking dreams. Again the same, once more, because he has earlier also used the word repeating, again and again the same pattern. We rise, we fall. We move into the day, into the light, we go back into the night. We go back into the sleep of ignorance and inconscience. We emerge out of which perhaps rejuvenated. After your sleep, you feel refreshed, if you know how to sleep well. So out of that original absolute silence of unmoving consciousness or inconscience, one can draw the energy to grow. The supreme consciousness is hidden in the unconscious. And so this principle of inconscience as opposed to consciousness, of the divine and the undivine, are two ways of describing the same. But outwardly they are opposites, absolute opposites. Inconscience is the cause of our resistance, our inertia, our failure, where nothing is required of us. We are not asked to grow, we are not asked to progress, and it's a very comfortable thing for us. Inertia is very comfortable. No effort required. It is this moment where a shadow, earth seems a shadow spinning through a soulless void, thrown back once more into unthinking dreams, earth-wheeled, abandoned in the hollow gulfs, forgetful of her spirit and her fate. Earth and all those on the earth, especially man. Actually, most important, man. Man is capable. The others don't have this urge. So we fall back into darkness, into unthinking dreams, forgetful that we are not here simply to fall. And no one for a long time seems to remind man or the earth, what are you doing? Why don't you change? Are you meant for that? Have you come on into manifestation, into existence, just to remain the way you are, a dull, unconscious being? Are you not capable of doing more? The skies, the worlds of light, the world of mind. Sky is the world of mind, the starting point of light. They are impassive, unmoving. They show no guidance. An impassive face has no expression. No joy, no pain, no help, no fear, complete blankness. The impassive skies were neutral, empty, still. This, for a long time, is our state. Then, fortunately for us, fortunately for the earth, just as a certain moment in time, night seems to withdraw and light begins to emerge, and there is a new day, a new dawn. Symbolically, this moment happens also in the life of man. It starts in a very, very subtle manner. Then something in the inscrutable darkness stirred. It's no longer empty. There's a beginning of some play, of movement, of change, reminding that this is the beginning of a new stage of our journey of consciousness. It is an adventure of consciousness. Evolution is not change of form. Evolution is basically a change of consciousness. As you change from within, your external being, your external behavior, your external movements also change. But it is projected from within. So something has to start from deep inside. A moment of some change, the need that I cannot remain like this any longer. A nameless movement. It is so subtle it cannot be defined. An unthought idea, almost an oxymoron. You know an oxymoron? So, play of opposites. Insistent, dissatisfied. Change because it is dissatisfied with the present. A moment does come in our lives where we no longer want to be the way we are. We want to change, but we don't really know how to. We don't really know where to go. We don't really know what to become. But we know that we don't want to remain the way we are. It's an in-between moment. It's a start. But it keeps on and on, bothering, insistent, dissatisfied, without an aim. It's so gradual. Something that wished but knew not how to be. It's a psychological state. Yes, I want, but I don't know what exactly I want. I don't know how I can become what I really don't know how to define. But I don't want what I am now. I no longer want myself to be the way I am. What am I going to become? I don't know yet. It's an in-between state which can last a long time. But if it is genuine, if it's just a passing state, it happens to everybody. If it's a passing state, we fall back again and again into the old. But if we keep on insisting on it, there is a breakthrough at some point. So this is what he says, teased the inconscious to wake ignorance. Teasing is really to keep on hammering on the same point again and again and again and again, irritating, disturbing, shaking the dullness of the inconscient sleep. In that sense, teasing, keep on and on and on and on, wanting to, insisting on a new state, to break that ignorance. And it's not a pleasant state. Should we stop here?